Hello, beautifuls. This is going to be the kind of video I kind of love and hate doing at the same time. I hate it because I hate that these issues are still out there, but I love it because it means that we're talking about it. So, let's chat.
Are you just gonna take that? Make them take it all back. Don't tell me you believe that. Are you just gonna take that? Or will you fucking fight back?
Some of you may have heard some buzzing around the romance community. This sweet group that we have of people who always stand up for each other, always speak up when there's a problem. And then if there's a problem we can't solve, someone magically sweeps in and solve it. Yeah. That hasn't happened. That's not going to happen. With this, there are some things that are being addressed, but let's start from the beginning. So, the RITA Awards are awards that authors enter their books into every year. They send a certain amount of copies in to be judged by a panel of judges to decide whether or not they're the best in their genre. The fact that you're paying for a contest, I don't know. Personally, I've always found that iffy because then the people who can't afford to pay obviously aren't being included in this judgment. But whatever. So it's the 2,000 people who pay to enter this contest who are judged. Some of them maybe they're entered by their publisher, some entered by themselves. It's irrelevant. They pay to be judged by a series of critiques, and the panel of judges will decide whether they end up finalist. And it's a prestigious award. A lot of people really think highly of it, and that's awesome. And to all of the past winners, I congratulate you. To all those who didn't even make it as finalists because your book had a black heroine, or a gay hero, or a polyamorous relationship, I guess it would kind of suck for you. I guess the fact that there are judges in there that are using critiques such as, oh, this isn't a real romance because you don't have the traditional, male-female romance, I guess that kind of sucks for you. I mean, there's not much they can do about it right now. Oh, wait. This statement was issued. RITA scores went out to entrants last night, and we have heard the concerns of those who believe their entries were subject to biased judging. This year, one of the major focuses of the RWA board has been to evaluate procedures for the RITA contest in light of the existence of bias among some of the judges. This bias results in unfair scoring of books representative of marginalized populations and harms the integrity of the award. At the July board meeting, the board passed a new policy that we hope will allow patterns of bias judging to be identified and for action to be taken against those judges if deemed necessary. Full policy changes to the RITA contest will be posted along with the minutes, but the following language was added in an approved motion. In the event there is a concern about a judge's scoring repetitive use of the DNF score or invidious discrimination against content, characters, or authors, the judge may be contacted for more information and to elaborate on the reasoning behind the scores. If the explanation given by an entrant pursuant to is unsatisfactory, RWA reserves the right to remove an entrant from the RITA contest and the future judging pool, which could be for a specified period, including a lifetime ban, depending on the seriousness of the judging issues. These decisions will be made by RWA staff. Decisions can be appealed to the RWA board. While these policies only apply to the 2019 contest and beyond, we can begin documenting judging patterns this year. If an entrant feels their submission was judged unfairly due to invidious discrimination against content, characters or authors, we ask that the entrant reply directly to the scoring email with this information. Deputy Executive Director Carol Ritter will receive the complaint and will make a record of possible biased judgment. These files will be carried over each year, and if a pattern is identified, action can be taken as set out in policy. It is the board's goal to create a RITA contest that allows for fair and equitable judging of all entries, and we hope the changes made put us on a path to that reality. So, something will be done eventually. I find this troubling for many reasons. There have been statements like this in the past, and I would love to believe in it, and I do believe that they are making steps to make RWA more inclusive, to deal with some of the racism and some of the bigotry that has plagued it and publishing for a long time. This isn't a small problem. It's not going to be quick and easy to fix, but I don't think it should be taking this long either. I don't think that we should be looking at maybe in the future we may address it doesn't seem very solid at this point, and I don't blame anybody at this point who wouldn't want to pay to put themselves in this situation that all these other authors are dealing with. It's just my opinion. This isn't anything against RWA. This isn't against the RITA Awards. This is legitimately against a systematic system that doesn't seem to be changing. Recently, there was also a response to the speech by Susan Brockman. A lot of you probably heard about that. It was an awesome speech. Some people walked out. Some people, after it started being talked about online, started sharing their very, very racist opinions about what they thought of the changes being made, the requests for changes being made, the idea that, white people shouldn't just dominate the publishing industry. I'm glad that they're sharing these opinions so that we know who they are. We wouldn't want to, accidentally buy a book by somebody who promotes, Nazis. But that's neither here nor there. For the RITA Awards, you have judges who none of us necessarily know who they are, unless you're, I guess, part of the management or part of the higher-ups in the hierarchy of RWA. And some of these people might have these very same opinions that had people walking out of Susan Brockman's speech. Susan Brockman brought up some very specific points.
There's so much work to be done. There's so much work that we need to do to be as inclusive as we should be, as inclusive as we can be. And RWA, I've been watching as you attempt to deal with the homophobic, racist white supremacy on which our nation and the publishing industry is based. And it's long past time for that to change. But hear me, writers, when I say it doesn't happen if we're too fucking nice.
And I'll be including little clips of it in here and a link to where you can find the whole thing below. I'm also going to include a link to a blog that I was reading earlier. In this blog, an author shared why she skipped the awards altogether. She didn't see this impassioned speech because she had been dealing with this systematic racism, with bigotry, with all the other problems in the awards for so long that she just didn't see the point. She didn't want to support it. And that's where the problem comes in with this. And I'm going to be actually reading up more. I've been reading up a lot, but I'm going to be reading up more. I'm going to hopefully do some interviews. And I'm going to try and, even in my own mind, because I was thinking of joining, basically to justify why we should join. Some people are saying that we can't make a change unless we're there to force that change. But the thing is, a lot of these authors are RWA members. They paid to be included in an RWA contest. And then they had to get those scores, which told them their books weren't really romances because, they weren't white, straight people in love.
RWA, you were an obstacle. In 2008, I was asked to MC the RITA Awards in San Francisco, and I was thrilled. My book, All Through the Night, had recently come out, a groundbreaking, mainstream, New York Times best-selling romance about two gay men celebrating their love by getting legally married. My crazy, inclusive, liberal, hopeful, love-embracing brain took RWA's invitation as approval and acknowledgement that love is love is love is love. But not so fast there, you. Early on, I'd asked if there'd be time for me to speak briefly, just a few personal words at the start of the ceremony. Of course, I was told. But at the rehearsal in San Francisco, I was asked to practice reading the statement I'd prepared. It seemed a little strange, but okay, I had it with me, so I did it. It was a short, joyful statement about California being one of a very few places in the U.S. that, at that time, would recognize Jules and Robin's marriage. I was stunned when I was informed that I could not say that. I was told that the issue was divisive and some RWA members would be offended.
Them paying to hear that? That's a problem. And I don't think it's a problem that enough people are addressing it as the problem it is. A lot of people are like, oh, well, that's unfortunate. That's bad. I hope they're changing something. RWA puts out a statement. Oh, look, they're changing things. Everything's great now. No. There's still a long way to go, and people should be speaking loud enough that these changes happen fast, that these changes are huge changes that are going to mean that authors, Black authors and minority authors and queer authors who submit books don't have to wonder if their books are going to be judged fairly. It doesn't matter if it's an interracial romance, it doesn't matter if it's a queer romance, if it's between a trans man and somebody who's non-binary. It doesn't matter what your idea of traditional romance is. These are still romances and should be judged the same way. And they aren't being. There's nothing beyond absolutely changing that. Coming up with a system that doesn't allow those books to be judged differently, that's acceptable as far as I'm concerned. And I think a lot of people agree with that. So right now, it looks like there's a possibility of another year where the awards are going to be judged and the finalists are going to be chosen, and they're not necessarily chosen from the best. They're chosen by those who fit into the same mold that they always have. Sometimes someone gets through, and that is awesome. I am really happy for them. Too many people aren't, and the playground's not even. The rules aren't fair. Everybody should be judged on their merits, not in somebody's ignorance. So, I am going to be doing more videos on this. I wanted to make this one quick, and I'd like to know what you think. What do you think would be a good way to change this? What do you think the problem really is? And what are you doing to change things? Are you joining RWA? Are you speaking up? Are you writing letters? Are you amplifying the voices of those who have been dealing with this issue for a long time? A lot of us are looking for ways to help and ways to show support. I, for one, I was speaking to somebody who was part of RWA and who really wanted me to do this video. She's thinking about doing her own video. I won't mention her here, but I will hopefully either do an interview with her or even better, share her video, because I think that those affected, if they can speak up, they should, and we should be making sure that they're heard. Also, I think that there are some very easy safeguards that can be made to make sure that the judges aren't bigots. There's not really any, I can't even just say racist, because they may or may not be. You know, if you don't have the racist, you have the bigots. I don't know, take your pick. But this has got to stop. It's 2018. We shouldn't still be trying to figure out our way around issues like this. It should be done. We don't need the problem solved tomorrow or the day after or in the future. It needs to be solved now. I hope you guys like this video. Let me know in the comments what you think. And don't forget to like, subscribe, ring that little bell, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.
I vowed in that moment that I would make room for you in the romance genre, because I would not write books set in a world where gay people, where you were rendered invisible, where you were erased because that's just the way it is.